What's up? What's up? Um, got a couple folks dropping by tonight, so this will be quick, but make progress. Stay on top of it. First one up tonight. This little movie. You know, this was really good. I really enjoyed it. What's up, Lilo? Michael Casey, good to see you all. Hidden Figures. Taraji and Janelle Monáe and Octavia Spencer and Kevin Costner, and just about these women who were so instrumental in the in the Cheri. Hello, so good to see you pop up. Dude, I was thinking about you. We were watching The Departed the other night and thinking about when we went to go see that together when we were in Denver on that automotive tour. Great to see you show up. Just talking about Hidden Figures. Just about, these mathematicians, these women of color who were so valuable to the space program, and while they were working in the segregated South in Texas and still under Jim Crow, and massive contributions still, and the attempt at a sea change within the organization to validate their contributions. Hans Zimmer and Pharrell did the score. Pharrell Williams, if memory serves. It's a really solid film, and and also like Cheri's mom worked in that era at Ford Motor Company doing very similar stuff. She was a mathematician, brilliant computer scientist. So there was a lot of kind of overlap in that film, and that's part of the reason why I hold on to it. Haven't revisited it in a long time, but I really also it was nice to see Kevin Costner show up. I had forgotten about him in there too. Anyway, Hidden Figures, if you haven't seen it, it's terrific. I gotta say, I don't remember specific aspects of the score. But I gotta listen to it again. But good point. It may be, it's heavy subject matter, and I think that if the score feeling a little bright in contrast to what's going on, it makes sense. But I think also the tone of the film, I felt like the tone was not trying to gild the lily. It was really trying to focus on the contribution rather than focus on the oppression, and trying to tell both sides of that story is it's a tightrope, and but I gotta listen to that score again and see how that feels. But great point. Next film, Russell McKay's Highlander. This is the director's cut. Christopher Lambert, Sean Connery, Clancy Brown is the Kurgan. Lilo, I'll come to that question at the tail end of this. But thank you for asking that about Walter and The Walking Dead. I will address that. But I want to stay on target. I watched this movie for the first time with my buddy Jeremy Meiring. He asked me, Haggis, you cannot die, McLeod. Man, this movie is so 80s. Queen's incredible soundtrack. It opens with Big John Studd a wrestling match, and how that speaks to the quickening and the battles that are going on. I don't have any of the other Highlander movies in the collection. There's just something so beautiful and wonderfully operatic about Highlander, and and it is that I love the story that they tell about being immortal and outliving the person that you love. And this poor guy living for generations past, that his burying his wife who aged and he doesn't age a day, and that kind of thing being explored like in movies like The Hunger as well, and Interview with the Vampire, like all that kind of stuff. And Highlander does it so well. And in a way, it's kind of like, what do you do with yourself if you're immortal? And obviously you work on your swordplay. I haven't watched it in a long time. One of the things that I remember loving about this film was the transitions, the way this picture is shot. It's so crazy, the way you transition from, contemporary New York to, like 1800s Scotland. Like, it's just a wonderful time traveling, crazy, exciting thrill ride. And Clancy Brown's Kurgan is still one of the great villains of all time. And as a voice actor, I'm so excited to one day share a booth with Clancy. I hear nothing but the greatest things about him, and he's certainly a magnificent talent. I mean, God, from everything he's done, from Shawshank Redemption to God, but the first time I saw him was in that. God, he's so good in The Penguin. As if you haven't seen The Penguin, by the way, on Max, it's outstanding. Okay, one more, and then I'll talk about The Walking Dead. God, Alexander Payne's The Holdovers. This was last year. Was it last year? Looking at it, 2024? No, this came out in 2023. I've been really lucky to work with Alexander Payne on 2 different occasions on commercials of all things. And his knowledge of film and his love of film is so deep and enthusiastic. And just loves talking with anybody about it. And we struck up on both occasions deep conversations about, him working with Jack Nicholson on About Schmidt. Film recommendations. We both gave each other like huge lists. He gave me this recommendation of a film called Westward the Women that is absolutely one of the greatest Westerns I had never heard of, and a deeply moving, beautiful film. If you haven't seen Westward the Women, you probably haven't. Oh, man. Amen. Miss our Young Rock fam, too. I hope you're well, too, brother. Great to see you show up here. Thanks, John. But The Holdovers, I remember seeing the trailer for this. Cheri and I saw it in the movie theater on many occasions. They were really promoting this a lot at AMC. I don't remember what movies we saw it before, but just kind of reacting like, who cares? Kind of, that was sort of the vibe. Man, watched it. We watched it together, rented it. Like, people are saying this movie is really good. Paul Giamatti is always a good ride. Alexander Payne is a solid filmmaker. Let's give it a spin. And man, by the end of this film, we're both just a mess. Some of the finest performances I'd seen from all 3 leads. Paul Giamatti, of course, is just spectacular. But then, oh my God, Joy Divine Randolph, is that her name? If she didn't win, I think she won the Academy Award for this role. I might be talking completely out of school. And then Dominic Sena, the kid who played the boy. But man, if you haven't seen The Holdovers, it's really wonderful. And it's one of those pictures, too, that you just don't see made that often anymore. Kind of just a road movie and an adult sort of drama that's super accessible and really true about kind of being an outcast. Yeah, and really a tribute to the movies stylistically of, like, Hal Ashby. Like, a big influence was The Last Detail, which is coming up. But, boy, if you don't know the work of Hal Ashby, like, you should check out The Last Detail. You should check out Being There. with Peter Sellers. You should check out Harold and Maude. The way those movies look and feel tonally is how The Holdovers looks and feels tonally. And it's tremendous and just extremely well done. A great Christmas movie, kind of that everyone can enjoy. And, you know, when we have found, and Cheri and I, like, I don't want to say that we're movie snobs.
What movie are you talking
I was talking about The Holdovers. But,
No, I think when we saw the trailer for it, it's not necessarily movie snobs. It's more like there just hasn't been a movie like that in so long that you lose trust. I think that has everything. You just lose trust. The superhero movies, the franchise movies are very entertaining and very good, but after a while, like it feels like eating cake over and over again.
Yeah.
And you kind of get used to it. So when you see something like that, I think you just lose trust.
yeah.
And you forget that this is what the world used to look like before the big franchise movies took over.
Yeah.
And that movie helped me it reminded me, oh yeah, look at the filmmaker, look who's starring in it, and trust that rather than anything else.
Yeah.
And that The Holdovers was a reminder that this is how we, as a Gen Xer, this is how we grew up with these movies that were one-offs. They're just a story. It's like a little shift needs to happen, but you need to take a whole movie for this shift to happen.
Yeah.
Because that's how life works.
Yeah.
And like I'm right now trying to think of all of the holdover comps, you know, we had in the 70s and the 80s growing up.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, that's Kramer versus Kramer.
Yeah.
Ordinary People.
Yeah.
I cannot.
Oh man. Oh come on. Like The Conversation.
Yeah.
Not necessarily The French Connection, not necessarily like genre.
Not genre pictures, but these movies that are like, they're about shifts in consciousness, shifts in lives, but there's always a significant emotional event that facilitates that shift. Yeah.
And, like The Great Santini.
Yeah.
It's not big spectacle, it's just small, big. Good Will Hunting is a great example. That's
a great example of
one of the last movies, because that was in the late 90s where that happened.
Yeah.
The Birdcage. Dead Poets.
Yeah.
A lot of like Peter Weir's films. Good Morning Vietnam had that transformation.
Yeah. And they're just shifts. They're just small shifts in how we see the world and our frequency and our consciousness and we all, if I pose this question to people and say, what was that moment for you? That's where your movie is. They're never big things. They're always just kind of this little, you're looking this way and all of a sudden you're looking that way. But it takes this outside thing for it to happen. I mean, it's why, you've said this before, why Godzilla -1 as a genre picture is about one of those shifts. Yeah. Shoved into a monster movie. Yeah. Like, it's one of the most brilliant movies made, in the past 10 years because of that.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the things that I think that sets Iron Man apart. Is that Iron Man is a very similar experience where Tony Stark experiences a thing that happens in the beginning of the movie that shifts his worldview, and then we play through the ramifications of that worldview shift. And it, and then you want to see that echoed in other pictures. And,
and I feel like when we saw The Holdovers, or when we saw the trailer of The Holdovers, and I don't think the trailer of The Holdovers is that great, honestly. I think they were trying to sell it as this comedy and what's Paul Giamatti doing with these kids over the break, and it's not that at all. Yeah. It's a deeply, it has comic elements to it, but this really deep drama. Yeah. And it reminded me, like, there's a movie. What was the movie that just came out? I'm gonna get the title so wrong. The Duke from Bridgerton is in it. They just the bag, the suitcase, the briefcase. The
briefcase, the bag?
What's
Black Bag.
Black Bag.
Yeah. Steven Soderbergh's recent film.
But
Yeah.
Soderbergh, and I was like, I didn't get a chance to see it in the movie theater, but I'm going to watch that movie because it looks like one of those kinds of movies.
Huh, yeah.
Like, it's a one-off.
Yeah.
It has a great cast.
And you trust that director.
And I trust Soderbergh just like I trust
Alexander Payne. Yeah. It's why and a Christopher Nolan joint or a Steven Spielberg joint, like you don't, and Coppola, like you don't miss these things, and you don't need to love it. You don't need to love Eyes Wide Shut, but you should.
No.
But you should take in a master's work, and these are living masters.
Yeah.
And when you get to experience that firsthand, I mean, the world right now is having their moment with Ryan Coogler with Sinners, and it's the same kind of thing. Or when a Jordan Peele joint drops,
you go. My kid's still mad at me because I took him to see Dunkirk. They claim that they too young. I'm Gen X.
You saw Excalibur.
I saw Excalibur in the theater when I was 8 years old. No such thing. You had double digits, so you were fine.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
Dunkirk. It's, it's the cast, it's everything, it's seeing it on the big screen. So you may think that now, man, you may think it for the rest of your life, but you can't change the fact that you saw Dunkirk on the big screen.
That's right.
And I can't tell you how many times I said, I saw Excalibur on the big screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
it's transformative, and it's the power of cinema and why you go see it big.
Yeah.
And being able to take, it's one of the things I love about here. I took the kid to go see Dick Tracy at the Egyptian and Batman Forever.
And we saw the Poseidon Adventure.
Yeah.
On the big screen.
Yeah. Thank you, Quentin Tarantino, for resurrecting the New Beverly and the Vista Theater. So, I think... Tarantino is another one of those guys. Like you go and you see it.
Yeah, you put your pants on, you get your purse.
Yep.
And you go see Quentin Tarantino's new movie is coming out, and I know I feel that way about Black Bag because it's just been a busy time for us. But no, I'm going to sit down and watch that film.
Yeah.
It's Soderbergh.
Yeah.
The cast is great. No, I'm going to watch it.
Yeah.
Sinners, Coogler. No, I'm there. I'm done. It's done. You know, and you're looking for these one-offs now. You're searching for them.
Yeah.
Because they're dinner. You're looking for food and not it's not anything against any of the superhero movies.
But the superhero films too are they have their place and it's a big story, but it's more like, it seems to me, and this is as someone inside and outside at the same time, in the Marvel universe, it feels like it's more like episodic television. The showrunner really is Kevin Feige and what they're doing, and they're guiding it, and there's other voices that are contributing to it.
Yeah, and they're essentially putting episodic TV in the movie theaters.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I feel about that. I don't want to judge it because all art matters,
Well, it has its place. And some things, and in that, there's been films that I've loved. I loved Black Widow. I loved Ang Lee's Hulk. I loved
Black Panther was a whole experience. I mean, we had a cookout for that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, just let's go. Let's do this. Let's see this.
And of course the Avengers, the Infinity War stuff, and Doomsday is going to be that, and I'm excited for Fantastic Four. And then you flip over to DC, and what they've been doing has been way more on the auteur side.
Well, it's not like this is anything new. If you're going back to the movies that Spielberg and Lucas and the boomers, essentially what they value programmed on, those kids, when they were kids, they had their quarters or their nickels or whatever, and they went to go see Western serials in the movie theater.
Yep.
So it's not like this is anything new.
Right.
These are Western serials, and they do have a place, and they are for a demographic, and these kids need to see their Spider-Man and all these guys, their Western serials on the big screen. They deserve that. But at the same time, I feel like, you know, in between the Western serials, you need the apartment.
Yeah. You need the apartment. You need Night of the Hunter. You need, you know, you need the Holdovers. And I'm thrilled that it existed, and that, you know, that Focus Features and Miramax and Universal all got together and found a way to make it work. And they don't throw a ton of movie at it, throw a ton of money at it, but they get it up, and there it is. So this concludes our TED Talk. All right, you've been very, very patient. Lilo wanted to know what it was like to voice Walter in The Walking Dead season 2. And we did that job a very long time ago. I remember recording that work right after the new year. It was the very first job I had done in, I believe, 2015. Like, literally, like, January 5th. And the great thing about that particular job was Melissa, who played Clementine, had already recorded all of her dialogue. And when you're recording video game work, you never record together. So in a piece like The Walking Dead, and for Telltale, so much of what they do is, or was, R.I.P., was so dramatic. And drama was what ruled the day. It was about good acting, great storytelling. I mean, the first season with Dave Fennoy and Melissa Hutchins is just breathtaking. So to be able to be part of that legacy is great. But Melissa had already recorded all of her dialogue. So when I was acting opposite Clementine, I was able to react and play off of that. So they would play me in what the user's choice would be, and I could react to that. And, you know, prior to that game, I had already done BioShock Infinite, so I had and I had already done Star Wars, The Old Republic. I had worked on, you know, Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition. I had a lot of experience in video games already, but a lot of that stuff had been bombastic, yelling, you know, big, aggressive characters. Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. And Kenny is a wonderful character. Oh, my God. Lee and Clementine, yeah, just the best. So to get the opportunity to participate in it, and what I loved about it was that the characters are so real, and the emotions are so real, and it really gave me an opportunity to push myself as an actor and play things that, as a co-star actor, as a commercial actor, I didn't get the opportunity to express that often. So it was just wonderful to have that opportunity to dig into those parts of myself as a performer and explore that. So I'll always be grateful, not only to The Walking Dead, but to the fans of The Walking Dead who love playing that game, who were moved by the story, moved by the storytelling, and just hung on every word. Just the best. So thank you so much for asking that question, Lilo. I appreciate it. Dude, I appreciate you popping into every one of these things and for hanging through all the way to the end. And I'm going to sign off and get ready for dinner. But thanks so much for joining. And yeah, physical media forever. Talk to you soon. Peace.